Hi.
Hello, how's it going?
Hi, I'm going good. It's going good. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. Just in a very weird time zone. I'm in the US right now, so it's like 3:30 in the AM, so fully charged to talk about what Gen Z wants at work.
Fully. Crazy. That is just crazy. You're way more Gen Z than I am. What is
Hmm.
with this energy? Did you
Oh
wake
man,
up for this
from the
conversation or
morning.
is that are you like a 3:30 a.m. club person?
So since we're building this out of India, there is a lot of overlap that is required. So this is anyways the time that I try to get started. Uh, yeah, so it's like
Wow.
3 p.m. in India right now. Uh,
Yes, it
and
is 3
like
p.m.
3 p.m. to 8 p.m. is the kind of overlap that I like to have because there's a lot of like business development and coordination that I'm personally doing at this stage. So yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot of hustle.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Solid hustle.
Listen, a lot of hustle, a lot of hustle. So, for people who don't know Kanishk, I'm gonna give like a very quick introduction from my POV, and then Kanishk,
Mm-hmm.
you can take it over with, of course, what you're building and all of that stuff.
Sure.
So Kanishk and I met virtually during COVID. We were judges of, I'm not sure, it's like a hackathon, kind of like some contest, not
A fest, I
exactly
think.
a fest, which had like some kind of a contest type something going on, where they were
Hmm.
supposed to solve a problem statement, bring in the projects of that problem statement, and we were supposed to ask the team different questions as to how they did that, have they like all of that, like very micro short time, no
Yeah.
funding though. So you and I sort of saw each other through those small little boxes through that, and that was that. I
We
don't
were
remember.
co-judges.
We were co-judges, yes.
Hmm.
Yes, I don't think we ever met after that, or I'm not even sure if we stayed in touch. I don't
Yeah.
have any memory of it. And then one random afternoon, I had a meeting at a coffee shop in Church Street in Bangalore, and my meeting just got over. So I was just chilling and working from there. And you walked in to get yourself and your team member a cup of coffee, and then you recognized me. I was like, that is crazy. And it took us some time to kind of figure out, are we with the right person or not? And we were like, what are the odds,
Hmm.
right? And back in the time, you were in working campus engagement. Is that the right organization?
Campus careers, the
Campus
previous.
careers, the
Yeah.
previous one, yes. And then we had like a long chat. We did like a real, like we went all crazy. It didn't feel like we were actually talking to each other for the very first time in person.
Mhm.
So it's awesome. So Karish, you want to tell people a little bit about what you exactly do right now?
Yeah, I can practically get started from the very beginning of how I got to do uh, what I'm doing right now, um, and why Profesh and why me and all of those like deeper questions, right? And which also is part of the intro that I generally give people. I got recruited to be a recruiter. That's how I started my career. My first job, my first internship in 2011. I was a second year student in Christ University, Bangalore, and I kind of had this inclination that I would like to, or rather, I thought that I had this bent that maybe I can be a great HR professional, right? And it so happened that that very year, Goldman Sachs decided to open their first HR internship in India, right? And they decided to roll it out not just in the XLRIs of the world. They decided to roll it out in the undergrad colleges and very specifically Christ, because they had like a good partnership with the college for other teams hirings as well. So they, as an experiment, they brought this role to Christ also. And so for me, from my perspective, this worked out pretty perfectly. A, you are interested in a particular profile, which is HR, and secondly, you have a company of the caliber of Goldman Sachs that is coming and hiring for their internship program. It seemed like the opportunity was coming at a very perfect time. So I and a lot of other people, we applied, and me and three people, the four of us, we ended up getting selected finally, right? And I entered this placement process with also like some level of not some level, like a lot of self doubt, uh, I do remember when I was sitting in the pre-placement talk, like I already had it in my mind that, hey, that person, and that person, they have a very strong chance of making it. And as the process kept continuing further and further and further, I was like, bhai, like I am being invited to the office now. That's great, right? And so it kind of like sent gave me one clear message, back then, that if you like put yourself out there and if you try anyway, then there is the possibility of good things happening to you, right? Like, so that like in our time, this positive self, this thing was like non-existent almost, right? We had to like prove something, and that was a very clear message in my mind, so that kind of left an impression on me. And secondly, like, after I had joined, like I had seen the tables turn pretty quickly from being a student to now being on the other side, on the corporate side, right? And like four of us, like we got placed in different functions of HR. Some got placed in L&D, some got placed in rewards. I got placed in recruiting, and so I got recruited to be a recruiter. So, from being a student who was constantly complaining and bitching about these companies and their processes, right? That they don't know how to do anything and whatnot. And now, like, going to the other side of the table where my colleagues are telling me that, hey, listen, like, you college students are some of the most unprofessional cohorts we deal with, right? Like, just living this two sides of the coin again left a very deep impression in my mind, as a 19-year-old, right? And I kind of decided that day that this entry level problem, entry level hiring, the way it worked out for me, number one, like, the fact that I thought I was interested in something and a great opportunity comes my way, like that is the utopia of how hiring should work, or how, like, the process of finding a job for every college student should be, right? Opportunities should be there. um, and ever since I've like dedicated like 13 years of my career towards this entry level hiring. um, I can go on about like how, I did an internship, got a pre-placement offer. Third year was like just me chilling in college, and we were being sent to New York for orientation, right, upon graduation. So like rock star level on campus, But from the corner of my eye, I could also see that like practically everyone else in the HR class is going unplaced, right? Uh, Months passed by and almost a year passed by since we graduated and since I had been working, and I sort of observed that each one of those people from the HR class ultimately ended up getting a really, really good HR job in some company or the other, right? Maybe it was a function that it's like Bangalore and you have all the Fortune 500 companies here, hence opportunities are galore. But that was again like a very like solid message that came clearly to my mind, like, right? So message number three, that great opportunities exist, in pockets, and so do great people in pockets. But there isn't like a hyper obsessive engine that is matching these two, especially not at the undergraduate, non-tech, the non-engineering schools like your BBA and BCom colleges, right? Every platform out there is catered more towards engineering students,
Yeah.
right? And so like it was great to see each one of those people being placed in a good HR job, but they did not get placed without going through that process of really destroying their self-image, self-confidence, so much energy wasted, which otherwise could have like gone towards just like learning and developing and all of those things, right? So that's how like this bug of entry level hiring kept building and growing in my mind. And it's always like been this problem that I've passionately been looking at, because I think that a smooth transition from your college ecosystem to the corporate ecosystem can create a lot of good effects for the rest of your career, your confidence, your personality, right? And so that's why I'm building Profesh in its new avatar. And here we are talking about what Gen Z wants at work.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks, Kanish, for that like, back to the storyboard kind of an introduction. This kind of makes me think of how I started. Since we're talking about entry level, here in my story is a little different. I went to college to do very like traditional BCom, because what nobody does, then you do become like you cannot do science because you're not capable enough or you don't get into science. And humanities is something that I mean was a very uncool thing at that point of time. So we were making fun of people, hey, you're in
It was
humanities.
for
So I
losers, right?
it was
Yeah,
well, yeah, unfortunately, which is so sad because I should have done that. I mean, that's exactly what I'm cut out for. But
I feel the
I
same.
mean, I'm an person, I'm a
Yeah,
creative person. There is no
yeah.
numbers at all here. I struggle so much with anything analytical, but we had to do that. And then I quickly realized that I cannot do anything because even before we got into college, I saw all of my friends start to prepare for CA, CS, banking, all of those roles. I'm like, I'm barely breathing, right? And life just went by till college without you even thinking, what do you really want to do? What do I like? What do I not like? And I am a very like multidisciplinary person. I do like a lot of creative things. So one of my friends told me, "Hey Sonali, you why don't you do something like interior designing?" Some of her friend did that, and I said, "Okay, why don't I try it?" I went and told my parents. They're like, "Okay, you figure out what you want to do. You tell us." So I did like a diploma in interior designing while I was in first year of college.
Okay.
And in second year, the institute from where I was doing it, they required us to do 1 month of internship to get the diploma sorted. So a lot of companies came to our campus, that institute, the design school's campus, and two of those companies were like real biggies in that sphere. One was CESC, Calcutta Electricity Board. One was Century Ply, and I
Achha.
sat for both of them, and I got selected for both, right? And so I
Okay.
figured that it was not just the design skills because we were going through different levels of aptitude or whatever, all of that, right? It was also about selling your design skills. It was also about a lot of, am I getting the questions? Do I have that confidence? I remember one of them asked me, what is your salary expectation? I said, whatever you give. I had no idea what to say, right? And then I
Yeah,
was like,
that's something
wow.
that Gen Z would never say.
It's crazy, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, why would I say that? It's ridiculous. Then someone else told me you should go and read the offer, like job offer description. We are not taught to do any of that. And then think my career started, and that's like a lot of things resonate when you say that, hey, you got to take your chances. You have to put yourself. So the idea is to also make yourself discoverable. I think we learned it really later in life that you have to pluck yourself in places where opportunities can find you. Initially, you don't know that, but I see that the Gen Zs have gotten that really well. Like they're everywhere, they're around, they're very social in that way. And I mean, not being on social media is not an option. You cannot be
Yeah.
non-discoverable, which is very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it'll be a fun conversation. So
I was
our
forced to do reels earlier this year, and
yeah,
it's
I
like
can see the reels.
content is the era that we're
Yeah.
living in. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So the topic for today, like we mentioned, is from hustle culture to human culture, what Gen Z wants at work. I think
Hmm.
we are also moving from hustle because I remember when we were at the start point of our career, hustle was what was the cool thing. Everybody had to hustle. Like it was the era of the Gary V's of the world. I remember listening to him a lot. I'm like, oh, I have to work, 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 work all the time.
Yeah.
And now we have come up to a point where, hey, mental health is important, taking breaks is important, having hobbies, having a social circle is important. And now I'm like, wow, okay. I mean, it was anyway important, but we never thought we could ask for those things. But I feel like the Gen Zs are asking all the right questions, which also I can see that we already have one question. I'm
Yeah.
gonna pull out. It's not really a question, it's like a comment of sorts. So Ishwin is saying we are living through interesting times where work culture is being redefined in many ways. Now it's the media era, creativity, content is ruling, right? And you were just mentioning about how you were
Yeah.
supposed to shoot reels. What do you think about that?
Like I mean, totally agree. Like, can't deny. See, like the battle is for human attention now, right? Like when we were growing up, like the television was a great source of entertainment, right? Compared to what our parents had, Doordarshan on like just Sunday, Saturday, or whatever, right? And so cable TV, when cable TV was just so addictive, right, where like someone else was building some generic TV serials, or there was a cricket match or something, so like with the cell phone and the internet and with short form content, entertainment has gone leaps and bounds, for humanity, and that is what makes it so addictive. Right. I mean, till the time we had just the cable TV, like that was amazing. Like that felt like, dude, how is this happening? Right. Color mein seeing the person and all of that stuff, and now you have Star
Have you
World, you have
seen?
AXN.
There's a reel compilation which shows how each country announced that they're going from black and white to color. It's
Right.
hilarious. It's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
good.
I've
Yeah,
seen the one where British TV went to color.
yeah.
But yeah, maybe the other countries also will be like fun
It's
to
really
watch.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
fun. Yeah,
so and I like used to travel like as a kid to my ancestral village in Haryana, where there was like one TV in one house, and then all the neighbors will come and watch it. So the like humans have always been like we humans, like we like to get be entertained more than we think, right? That's how we choose like our politicians, our like the coaching classes that we go to, right? The best faculty is not teaching anything, they're just entertaining the class, right? I wouldn't say that for every faculty, but like I've seen some really famous faculty that in all these IAS coaching centers and all, like they're practically entertaining people. So
yeah.
with the combination of the internet and short form content, and like millions and millions of UGC creators out there. There are like 7 billion people on this planet, right? 7 billion people are seeing something interesting or the other, in their day.
Yeah,
Out of
yeah,
which, like, let's assume, like, even if like 500 million people are content creators, or like say 300 million people are content creators, you do have a big enough content bucket of like those, like let's say out of like 300 million people who make a reel, like 100,000, like 1 lakh people, you
mm,
have like 1 lakh reels which are really worth watching on a daily basis. So
yeah,
imagine the kind of stuff that's being thrown at us.
yeah.
It's creating its own challenges, but it's fun. It's amazing. Like I love watching and sitting like scrolling, doom scrolling, whatever.
Yeah,
It's not
see
good for my
something.
brain.
You're right. You're right. See, something I'm also thinking in terms of the whole hiring, talent, discovering talent, Gen Zs. I think there's a reason why in recruitment there's like a personal round, and in the personal round you're checking a lot of things, right? Like you know that you've read the person's resume, but you're still asking the same questions, right? Why are you asking where this person is from? Why are you asking what they're studying? You have just read it. Ask them something different, or make them tell you what their skill level is,
Hmm.
because we want to check their social skills, we want to check how well they speak, we want to
Yeah.
check what kind of a communicator they are, right? And then now companies also have like an additional cultural round where if everything is a fit, we still want to check, are you going to come and disrupt our culture, or will you be able to adjust to the way we are, right?
Or
Without
contribute
creating
it,
it, or
contribute
contribute in it
to like
positively.
positively. Yeah.
Yes, right. So if as a recruiter or any person who's looking to hire someone, I can see something beyond just your resume, because anyway I'm supposed to talk to you, right? That's the whole point, right? But if I can search about your work or about you on the internet, and I can find some reel of you talking, showing your talent, whatever it is. I mean, it also depends on the industry you're trying to apply to.
Yeah.
Or I can go up on LinkedIn and I can read some things about you. But we're also looking at people who are possibly camera first here, because now you can do all of your writing using AI. That
Yeah.
still doesn't talk about your skill level. So if you are the person writing the email, do you also sound like that person who has written the email? That's where the trust and the competency lies. I think Gen Zs are able to put themselves so much out there that that finding the talent has become a little easier, because I already feel like I know you before you are entering my office, because
Yeah.
I've done some kind of a check using your content. So that is also helpful. But if you make, like, I guess all kinds of content have all kinds of bias in the mind of the viewer, so that can also possibly be a little negative for you. But then we're only looking at the positives for now, right? I mean, if you're making, I don't know, roasting videos of someone, or you're being rude to another person, I'm not sure if I would like to hire you in my team. But if you're looking for a very media based journalist company, perhaps they might think of that as a great talent to onboard, right? So it's very contextual in nature. But it's interesting how the resume is not just enough anymore.
Totally. Like, I've heard this so many times, people saying that, hey, like, if the company could just see 1% of who I am more than this resume, I'm sure they would hire me. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, it's funny you say that, I would like to see whether you sound the same, like, as you do on email. We're entering this world where most, like, let's say today, right? Even for the most, like, technologically backward person, uh, at least 5 to 6% of their communicating uh, is happening via voice notes on WhatsApp, right?
Awesome.
For the most tech savvy people, for the people who are actually like finding ways to improve productivity, etc., 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 that may be like 50% of the way they communicate, right? Email is there just like as a email is going to become like just apna notary stamp paper वगैरह, you go to the court, right, to like that is
Yeah,
what will
yeah,
be the
that
role of
level of
email.
official. Yeah,
Yeah. Maybe just to like leave a trail, like, or a confirmation of something, right? But
yeah,
like on the day to day, like you want to give an instruction to someone, like there's nothing more effective than a voice note,
that was
right?
not. Yeah,
So if the medium of communication itself is changing,
yeah,
right, then the CV then definitely becomes very, very outdated, you
yeah.
know. And in this era where we are entering the post AI and content world, the
Mm,
skill section of the CV also is completely replaced by AI, especially
correct.
for freshers who are Gen
Yeah,
Zs today,
yeah.
right? So if someone's writing like communication, Excel, those things, or like
Yeah,
writing, whatever, like
are
those things are
no
being
longer something to
done better.
mention. It's just the
Yeah,
bare minimum.
and those things are anyways being done better than AI, right?
Yeah,
There are skills that Gen Z are bringing to the table that are relevant for this era of content,
correct.
right? How can they communicate that in the PDF resume, right?
Right, right.
Even if you are a content creator with 1,000 followers, right,
Yeah.
and if you've done like two brand collaborations,
Mm,
as a micro influencer, the kind of
right.
learning that you have had, is something that if you mention on your resume, it will not be appreciated, right?
Mm,
It's seen
yeah,
more as like just jargon or whatever. but
yeah.
but that's the world that we are entering in, and it's dangerous because it's dangerous, not dangerous, rather it's kind of dangerous, maybe too
Have your
sensational
word.
a word. But I do feel like it's kind of um, it is a huge challenge that if the skill section of the CV is changed, then what are companies hiring bases, right? When they
Mm,
see these high volume applications. So you're
right.
right when you say that your content gives you the distribution. You never know who's watching, right? That's
Mm,
why people make it,
yeah,
right? Whose feed you have appeared on, all of that stuff. And
yeah.
so and
Gives you
so
an
like
edge.
yeah, and so like that's why Profesh is a video first,
Mm,
video resume first platform. Like
right,
we have completely like turned hiring on its head, right?
right.
And like ultimately, like we humans are blessed with the highest form of human intelligence is basically what your gut is telling you, right? And
Yes.
that is being felt by you through this thing that you call the vibe, right?
Mm,
Like
yeah.
कुछ feeling नहीं आ रही है यार, it
Feeling
comes
area.
it comes it
Vibe
comes
match
from
नहीं हो रही.
place, yeah. So that is how, like a lot of the human decision making will be done. And that's the kind of future we are heading into. And Gen Z
Correct.
are
I'm
pretty
a
well.
little interested in this. I have a quick question, right? Let's say in school and college, no, I used to see a lot of my peers who I knew were smart, right? Like book smart, what was required to ace the examination, right? And a lot of them would have examination fear. And even though they were able to solve all the problems, right, all like they knew it, but they were unable to really put it on the paper because of that anxiety, all of that, right? Now at the same time, and I wasn't one of them, but I was one of the quieter kids. So
Yeah.
I also saw that if there are people who did not have competency or the skill level as high as other people did, but they were able to put themselves out there in terms of very confident, very social in nature. Like our era ka content creation in a very physical form, they
Mm.
got that advantage because the teachers would see them, other people would see them, they would
It's,
get a
it's
lot
it's
of
funny because the content creators of our era were the backbenchers of the
the
class.
backbenches, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
the
And you get
entertainers.
a lot of social cred as well because you become the popular kid, whatever is the likes and the reactions of today.
Yeah,
But at the same time, we also missed out because we know that the people who are introverted, shy, all of that, I used to be one of them, really got left behind in a certain way, right? Sometimes you see that the most hardworking people who are contributing a lot are very quiet.
yeah.
So, in the generation that we're currently moving towards, where everything has become very video first and putting yourself out there, what is going to happen to the people with this nature? Are they going to be left behind again, or where are we heading towards?
It will be brutal for a lot of people. It's like I can give you an analogy, a similar analogy. Today in the startup space, it doesn't matter like if you have a beautiful product or not. What you win on is like if people are using your product or not, right? And so that's a challenge that a lot of great in engineering founders are facing, that they know how to build, right? But now how do they like pitch, position, market this tool,
Right.
this product that they have made, right? And VCs are more focused on traction, distribution, for those very reasons, because like no matter how good the product, I mean, if there's no one using it, um,
Yeah.
it is what it is, right? Like
Correct.
we are like kind of, we've been there. We are grappling with it in our own ways. Like traction is a challenge for any startup, right? So like that's just how the that's the brutal reality of just who we are as humans. I don't believe that the most talented person is the CEO, or like let's say like the most intelligent people are becoming presidents and prime ministers. It is the people who can who have the ability to market themselves, speak, communicate, entertain their audiences, right?
Yeah.
Who are going to win. And that's just the unfortunate reality,
Yeah.
right? And think about it this way, right? Like if all the world is a stage and everyone's just acting, now you're coming into the stage and like trying to be yourself and not be part of the show and not like do your bit. What's going to happen? Like
Yeah.
you're no one's going to give you the best actor award, right? For
Yeah.
obvious reasons. And so
Yeah.
that is something that will have to like just get uh, it like I don't know how you're going to make an I don't know if you can like introduce a curriculum where you try to make people more extroverted or whatever, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
we are what we are because of our unique
Yeah.
experiences, backgrounds, and so many different
Yeah.
factors that go into but yeah, it like if you are introverted, be ready that you're gonna like lose out on some good things.
Yeah.
Earlier though, like for a lot of the high paying jobs in tech and stuff,
Yeah.
uh right, like introverted people end up doing a lot better than the extroverted guys.
Mm.
Right? And the world, if you see, is like divided into two buckets: tech and non-tech.
Mm.
Right? It's
Yes.
tech. Tech salaries are like 3x, generally 4x. They were like 4x of what we were getting paid. When I
Yeah.
was hired, the same company, right?
Correct.
And all those guys were like they couldn't like speak much to market themselves, present themselves.
Yes.
They could
Yes.
build, they could code, all of that stuff. So it's also about like finding what job is for you.
For you. Yeah.
Maybe like again, an analogy I can give is if there are two people, one extroverted, one introverted, who are doing like let's say hotel management, right? Maybe the extroverted person goes to the front desk and the introverted person goes to like housekeeping or the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
And there is a big enough market
Yeah.
for those roles, for those skills, where
Yeah.
people need to do deep work, all of that stuff.
Correct.
Don't be introverted, and don't also be like
Yeah.
not like able to focus on your work and all that stuff.
Not yourself. Yeah. Yeah.
That's just like adding.
It's
Yeah,
You're right. This is interesting. I mean, we obviously cannot change a person's absolute personality, but I used to be an introvert, and not many people get that. They're like, that is impossible. I'm like, it is. It's a fact. But I figured that I am not the most attractive kid on the block. I am
Hmm.
not the most richest kid on the block. I'm not the most smartest. There is
Right.
nothing I'm bringing in, right? Whatever talent I had also was like, I cannot say I was the best at music. I used to play different instruments. I used to do sports, but I was not absolutely kicking ass at every level. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't stand out basis that. But then I saw this one kid in my class who was great at a bunch of stuff, but what he was really great at was being himself, speaking his heart out, and connecting with people a lot. Like I would automatically feel very confident, comfortable, warm around him. And then,
Awesome.
and everyone else would also feel that vibe, that vibe.
We
And I
should
was
we
like,
should we
yeah,
should actually like see what this person is doing today.
he's
That'll be
doing pretty well.
interesting.
He's
Hmm.
doing pretty well. Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm not sure. I mean, we're not so much in touch anymore, but I know he's doing pretty well for himself. I got very, very inspired by that guy. I was like, you know what? Not only do I want to be friends with that guy, I want to be him. How do I get to be that guy? Right? And he was like the creme de la creme of the class in terms of like academics, crazy. I was like, that I cannot get. It's just not in me. These subjects are not for me. But perhaps personality wise, I can still learn a few things. And that's how it started. And then very recently, I've done like over the years, I've done a bunch of sessions. This is called social skills for introverts and shy professionals. Like
Nice.
because I felt like I am that person.
Yeah.
I started. And if you look at it not like a personality trait, but as a skill, you know that it can be learned. You don't have to burn out. But these are the smart things, right? At the end of the day, like you mentioned, that if you look at tech and non-tech, I mean, very recently tech was ruling the world, right? You 4x, 5x, like the hikes, 100% hikes. Like we cannot think of those things if we are like going from one job to the other. But now we see that tech is becoming more and more commoditized, which means that the human aspect of connecting with people is getting back again, right? So the sellability, the marketing, the explaining the products, the actually connecting with people. If you are
Yeah.
building a tool but you cannot explain what the tool is,
Yeah.
then the tool probably it's just going to be there because nobody's going to know what the. So people like us can actually come, understand the other person, and you don't necessarily have to be like the life of the party, the public speaker to be that. You can still develop basic social skills to cut through that crowd, and that would be very interesting to see.
Yeah, totally agree. Like, as long as you feel comfortable and confident about who you are, and you are relaxed, with the person who's, beneath the skin, I think it doesn't really matter then, whether you're introverted or extroverted, right?
Yeah,
If you've made up your mind that, hey, listen, like I am introverted, but when it comes to a conference or some seminar or something, I will like put myself out there to the best
yeah,
of my ability, and you don't beat yourself about any awkward moment or conversation or anything of that sort. I think that's basically what you need.
yeah.
There's no like,
That's
this is
all.
not rocket science.
Yeah,
A lot of people are extroverted, they like speak absolute nonsense, right? It doesn't help,
yeah,
uh, right? So extroverts also have their own challenges. Like,
yeah.
I personally believe that I am an extrovert, right? Loudest voice in any gathering, all of that stuff. But when I went to my orientation through Goldman to New York, it was a room of 3,000 uh, you know analysts that were joining,
Mm-hmm.
and majority of them from the US, bunch of them from other offices. And like, just being in that environment, kind of like, just and seeing like how confident, like, people in the US are, for example, right? The way they speak, the tone at the the voice modulation and the tone at which they speak,
Yeah,
it can throw you off.
yeah,
It can throw the most confident person off, right? The kind of social skills they have built, right? The kind of comfort they have in speaking with senior people, because
yeah,
it's a sort of it's not an egalitarian society, but more
yeah,
or less, like, even the janitor and the CEO, right? Both of them speak the same language, they watch the
mm,
same sport, they both have TVs in their home, right? And they can joke about something that happened in last night's
yeah,
NFL game,
yeah, yeah,
right? In India, it's not possible. The
Yeah.
CEO will get pissed off if the janitor says anything about last night's cricket match, right?
Yeah.
So it's also like a cultural thing. But I like felt my most underconfident self in that seminar, in that hall,
Yeah.
right? So it's just the voice that's inside your head that you have to win, right? And if you through your training can reinforce or provide certain techniques where the person who's sitting inside your brain is saying something nice, right?
Yeah.
Or if they're
Cheering
just
for
not able
you.
to say anything nice, then
Yeah.
you give them a name, right?
Yeah.
This is a chat GPT trick. Okay, you give this person, this negative voice inside your head, a name like
Yeah.
Ramesh. Okay,
Yeah.
and this is not Kanishk talking to me. This is this loser Ramesh
Ramesh.
talking,
Ramesh too.
right?
Yeah.
So it kind of like detaches, your own thing from this negative voice of self
Yeah.
doubt and what.
No hate to Ramesh if you're
No
watching.
hate to
Like
Ramesh. Like
yeah,
my
it's just a
my
name.
really
Yeah.
close family, is one of the people. Their name is Ramesh. So, but you get the drift, right?
Yeah.
So that's my take on it, and I really think that this is something like through these techniques, through these whatever trainings, it is
Practices,
possible
skills. Yeah, it is
practices, right?
possible.
Like I joined Krav Maga recently.
Okay.
Okay,
What is that?
and the what's that?
What is that?
It's a martial art. It's like a
Oh,
martial art
wow.
from Israel, where they teach you how to
Oh,
defend yourself against, like an attack on the street and all that stuff.
self-defense.
Yeah, and
Okay.
the reason I joined that was because whenever I found myself in a threatening situation, like I am like consumed by so much adrenaline, the rush, that it takes me to a point where I just freeze, right?
Hmm.
And that's not helpful. Uh, when you're on the street and when somebody's like pushing you around, if you're frozen, then you're shown like weakness and whatnot.
Yeah.
So just like putting myself out there in different simulations, right? That is like one of the things that I'm hoping will help me overcome that.
Yeah.
The point to where I don't freeze 100%. Maybe I freeze like 50%, but that's
Yeah.
good enough, versus like freezing 100%. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really like find like admire the fact that
Hmm.
there is a curriculum like this, right?
Yeah.
But do remember that extroverts also have their own challenges.
Sure.
They are extroverts because of a certain reason. They
Yeah.
are massive people pleasers, which does them no good in the end. They're
Hmm.
constantly giving energy, right, without getting like any back sometimes, right? So they have their own challenges to grapple with. So
Yeah.
I don't think like we should like make this as binary as like saying that okay, introverts,
Yeah.
you guys you guys suck, and then extroverts,
Yeah.
you guys are great.
Yeah.
It's more nuanced. It's
Yeah.
definitely more
It's very
nuanced.
contextual, right? Like
Very,
I
very.
remember that I used to get on like really late night calls, and
Hmm.
I my entire thing to people that I was also kind of training to get on a few of these calls was we have to mirror the energy that the client or the other person brings to the table, right?
Hmm.
If I were to have this call with you late at night, I first of all would not recommend, because you would kind of want to wind down because for obvious reasons, unless you really work late at night. So if
Hmm.
you are starting your day and the other person is ending the day and you're like, hey, what's up? Good morning. You're gonna annoy them. It's gonna happen. I would
Yeah.
not like you to be in my face when I'm trying to wind down my day. I have to
Mhm.
take this call. Okay. Make it as painless as possible for me. Right?
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah.
like resent this call. So these are all these smaller things that I feel all of us can benefit from when we're
Hmm.
looking at like basically reading human beings, understanding
Right.
human beings. And it also starts by understanding yourself. What are my skills? What are my strengths? Do I want to learn this? Do I not want to learn this? And then, like you mentioned, that hey, you kind of figured this about yourself that if I'm in a physical combative situation, I freeze. Let me
Yeah.
get some help.
Yeah.
You reached out. I think we all can gain something from kind of putting ourselves in this spot and saying, oh, what's happening to me right now? What am I feeling? Is this something that I want to work towards? And trust me, there are enough and many things to help you through that. All you got to do is identify it and then have the will or make the decision that I want to work towards it. That's
Yeah.
about it, right? I mean, nobody's asking you to completely change 360 and become a whole different person just because
Yeah.
you want to get a job or want to make money. That's not gonna happen. If you don't have the appetite for it, or the willingness to work in that industry or that space, you may not even survive for too long. And that's not a nice thing to do, right? You're taking someone else's seat. Right.
Yeah.
The whole US thing made me think about something that, you spoke about culture, right? How the CEO could speak to the janitor. I think we've always been very wowed about their country in general, because a lot of things looked really interesting to us, like
Yeah.
this whole thing, right? Because um, I think the whole authoritative figure in the Asian countries, I can speak for India, is like for the longest time, at least in Calcutta, I would call people in my office who were senior to me sir and ma'am. That was just what was expected out of us, right? As if
Bhaiya,
we were just
bhaiya.
like,
I've
bhaiya,
heard like people
bhaiya,
call bhaiya and
bhaiya,
didi,
a lot,
their
a lot.
managers
I
and their
can't tell you.
buddies. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're like a little senior to them, but not as senior as a sir. Because
Hmm.
manager ka manager is a sir. And
Hmm.
you have to make some, there's a hierarchy in language as well. And
Yeah.
then I came to Bangalore, and people would take it very offensively. How can you call me sir? Do you think I'm that old? And I had
Hmm.
to really struggle to not call someone who is definitely like double my age. I'm like, how can I not? How can
Yeah.
I call you by your name? Right. And then I figured, okay, let me just call them by the initials to like ease the pain of me feeling I'm being disrespectful towards you, and then all of that, right? Now we're coming to culture being a very interesting topic in terms of the Gen Zs, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I think as millennials, we've tolerated a lot of stuff. We have never
Hmm.
questioned things, even though we had those questions. Why is this rule there? Why can't we do
Yeah.
this? Can we do it this way? But even if we tried to make some changes, not all of us were able to do that for various levels, right? And also, we feel that most of us required to have that job. I feel Gen Zs don't have that requirement. They don't literally need to be in a job. They're like, hey, we want to look for a job that fuels our passion, right?
Yeah.
For us, passion came a little later in life when we felt like, okay, money is kind of okay, now let's see what we are passionate about,
Hmm.
right? But for the Gen Z's, it kind of starts from, am I being treated well, what kind of vibe the company is giving, culture matters to me, all of that, right? So because you're working in the entry level space with Gen Zs, are you also hearing these conversations out loud? What's really happening? Or is it just on the papers and they're still very much like us?
Lexi, there are certain things that are, common and timeless about just young people in general, right? Now, young people have always led like revolutions, and they've always had like a lot of energy, right? Young people led some revolution 100 years back. Today, young people have led some revolution in some country, right next to ours, right? Toppled a government and all that stuff. So,
Yes.
um, the idealism that people have, right? What Like, see, the thing is, you have to understand, like, young people have a lot of idealism in them, right? But what that idealism is shifts generation to generation. That's the only, like, differentiating factor for us millennials. We were like some of the first generations from our families to be working in like global companies, in corporates, right, and multinationals. Just getting a seat inside a IT park in one of those buildings, like, that that's my desk and that's my seat, that felt like an achievement, right? Because IT parks were like islands of prosperity in an ocean of gloom almost. वो IT
And
park
not
के
just
बाहर ही
for
एक
us, like for the family members also. मेरा बेटा
या
यहाँ काम करता है, इस
हाँ
कंपनी में काम करता है, क्या
या
करता है नहीं पता, बट करता है.
करता है. And so, like, for like when like for millennials, for example, the main thing was to change the world, right, through your work, right? And you had like a Mark Zuckerberg who had just recently launched Facebook, and he was like this 20-year-old dude who like opened like $1 billion company. So it felt like it was possible to do something where you are able to change the world. And like the way Facebook changed the world, right? You have to imagine a world without social media before that. I mean, with the distribution of social media before that. right? Where people feel, were able to like find like friends who have like got separated like 30 years back. They like started reconnecting. It was a very cool thing, right? With Gen Z today, the idealism has shifted more, towards these more like human factors. And I think that stems from like these horror stories that have come out of like certain sectors like banking, consulting, where they are notorious for not having like a work life balance. Advertising, I've heard, has very very poor work life balance. In banking and consulting, at least you're getting paid something. In advertising, you don't even get paid that high, right? um,
Hospitality events, all of that.
hospitality. It was crazy. Like one for my sister's wedding, like we had like finished the banquet at like 2 a.m., and by like 8 a.m., like the same manager had already like arranged everything. And so like I ended up asking them, like, you did you not get any sleep? Like, I mean, for us it's just a wedding, and so we are clearly on low sleep, but this is like a regular day for you. So that idealism has is kind of also rooted in a lot of practicality, because they have seen their parents, probably, who were mid-level managers in like 2007 2008, going through this financial crisis, the recession, right? Going through that entire decade of like where they were like layoffs sometimes, and like the meaning of work, the whole idea of like being with this one company, making it a part of your identity, right? Like that completely got shattered for this generation. They kind of saw that hey, like my company can fire me anytime, right? So if I end up losing my health, and if I like I'm not feel, I don't have like another source of income, right? What am I even like, how am I even going to survive? Right? Some of it is rooted in that fear.
Yeah.
And on the contrary, there is also this one side where, okay, both parents are, they were working in their corporate jobs. अब माँ बाप ने दो तीन फ्लैट्स बना लिए हैं, राइट? ज्यादा से ज्यादा क्या हो जाएगा, राइट? There's no tension of food, there's no tension of rent and all that stuff. So
और
I'm just
माँ
going to
बाप
like
काम भी कर रहे हैं, लॉट ऑफ माँ बाप आर
माँ-बाप काम
स्टिल
भी कर रहे हैं,
वर्किंग. हाँ.
and so like you know why do I need to take bullshit from anybody, right? So I think it's these two factors which are very contrarian to each other, right? And if you look at one versus the other, then you kind of really like end up judging this generation in a wrong way, right? But it's a combination of factors, experiences, stories that these people have heard growing up,
Yeah.
and that has like shaped their behaviors, and a lot of it some is something that I would somewhat agree with, right?
They're not
Like
wrong. They are, I
yeah,
mean,
there
it
should
has
be
happened.
balance. Yeah, there should be
Yeah.
balance. You're like you're young only once in your life. You
Yes.
should enjoy traveling and doing whatever you like when you're young, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want to be spending like late night hours working for some random process, being a cog in the machine. They have seen this before, right? When
Yes.
we had joined the corporate, we thought like now we're going to join as analysts and we'll retire as a CEO, right? But somewhere along the way, like the middle level management happens, and the
Hmm.
politics of that happens, and then there is a churn that happens. Things don't work out in your
Hmm.
favor, so you anyways
Yeah.
don't end up like reaching that ideal goal,
Position.
right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
you can't sell them that dream,
Yeah.
right? um but right, I do believe also that capitalism will fix some of this work life, not fix, rather it will like temper down some of this like work life balance thing. And if you're a Gen Z entrepreneur, if you're a Gen Z founder, I've seen Gen Z's working like 5x of what I work, right? To just either get rich quickly or whatever it is that they're chasing, right? And so like it's still very nuanced, and you just have to see them as like young people who have a certain idealism. That idealism will get busted, some of it will get busted, because of capitalism, and some of that idealism is here to stay, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
People, like, if you are to attract the best talent, you need to have a proposition. People want to see who's the founder, who's the CEO, what's the management, what is their thinking, Are they like, are they sensitive about the issues that are important in the world, or are they like complete jerks, who
Mm.
like don't care about whatever? So a
Mm.
lot of companies have earned that bad reputation. A very famous edtech platform where, if you like just go to YouTube and say toxic work culture at XYZ company, and you have
It'll
tons
pop
of
up.
videos, right?
Yeah.
So they have the medium, and they have the platform to voice out whatever they want to. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
And especially in India, where we are so, like, people, like, there is a culture in companies where you go into meetings and you're walking out with like a lot of tension, right? Just because of how people speak to you and how the bosses talk to you. That part, I think, is something that I'm excited about. I like it. I like the fact that everyone expects respect. But on the other hand,
Mm.
also, like, I've been working with like 19-year-old interns who are like, hey brother, hey bro, hey broski, and I'm like, who the hell told you to call me broski, bro? Like,
Yeah.
but you realize that respect in that sense is
Yeah.
is different, right? Like,
Yeah.
as long as they are looking up to you, getting the work done,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you kind of like you have to go beyond the semantics of it. You have to see with like
Mm.
what intention someone is saying what they're saying, right? Like, bro, like,
Yeah.
that is very different from like, hey bro, can you do this,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
still doesn't mean that I'm ready to be like called bro,
Yeah.
right? If
Yeah.
if this was the corporate world, like, certainly not.
Absolutely
But
not.
since
Yeah.
it's a startup and it's a Gen Z first
But
brand,
somewhere. Yeah.
it
I mean,
kind
it's
of like,
also okay to ask a person, are you okay with that? And or if the person says that, hey, not bro, I'm not. I don't think we're. I would not prefer because we're still in a working environment, and it's okay.
yeah.
They take it and not take offense to it. Be like, oh,
Yeah,
how can you
like,
not?
so those
Yeah.
are some of the things that I am also personally navigating through.
Mm.
If people have found, or have, on this panel, have like been through that, have experience with that, and know a really solid hack to handle this, please
Yeah.
do share.
For
But
sure.
yeah, like, I mean, you are taken, like, there are things that will happen that you are just like totally taken aback by.
Yeah. Yeah.
But broad level, I think they are influencing the world.
In a very
In their
interesting
own
way.
in their own
In their
way.
own way. Yeah.
There are more positives than there are negatives, right? The
Negatives. Yeah.
negatives stem from, like, blind idealism, which
Yeah.
will get fixed over time,
Over
right?
time. Yeah.
Then they will become the millennials, and then the Gen Alpha will come, and, like,
Yeah.
I'm
They'll
just
have
waiting
their
for that
own.
day where Gen Z's are, like, taken for a ride by Gen
Oh,
Alpha. Like, now you guys know how it feels,
So I
right?
think what I kind of get from you is very interesting. First of all, I like the kind of questions that Gen Zs ask. And like I mentioned, that these are questions that we had as well. It crossed our mind, but we just didn't know if we should ask or if we could ask. Like things like, is this meeting really important? The number of unnecessary meetings I'm sure both of us have been in is not a joke. It's absolutely not required. All of these meetings could have been a email or a voice note or any of those, right? But we have sat through meetings about agendas and all of that and brainstorming and gotten nowhere because we know that we can only do so much experimentation. A lot of waste of time has happened. And in a lot of ways, we've also, I felt like, complained about, hey, you've hired young talent to get them to bring fresh ideas and think out of the box, but you're still telling me what to do. Like, where am I supposed to bring my creativity? Because you're bringing me into the system,
Mhm.
but you're like tying my hands and legs to the chair and like, hey, show us your creativity. I'm not going to be able to do that. So I feel like the Gen Zs are trying to wriggle out from these very complicated situations and be like, hey, because they don't have necessarily have the need to be in that job, they're not functioning out of the desperation of keeping that job as well, right? So that is a very interesting mix. At the same time, I also see that the world of work is changing, right? Where because of AI and all of that, we are seeing gig economy being like taking a little bit of a spotlight. We're seeing freelancers coming back into the mix again. Lean companies, right? I work with a lot of these agency founders who have not more than a team of 15, 20 people, and they're scaling like crazy with those people. They're like, we don't want to hire more people. But the question of culture is still there, even in a 20% team, because a lot of young people, they require
a way that they need to be spoken to, require a way that they need to be given communication, commands, whatever, instructions, and all that kind of. So it's very interesting in that mix. But I do realize that, like you mentioned, that when we also entered, we felt like, oh, we're going to disrupt the system. But we were eventually humbled. We had to let a few
Yeah,
things go
I
as
mean, we
well.
did disrupt something,
We did, like every generation.
and
Yeah,
we got humbled in other places.
yeah.
It's just how
Just
life
how
works,
the
right?
world works.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But it will be nice. Awesome. Yeah. But I will be sure to share a few notes about the whole communication with the Gen Zs. I'm working on something as
right.
to how
And
it
like,
works.
as we are also building this community on Profesh, right? There are so many like insights on a daily basis, because like this is the job app for Gen Z, right?
Mm,
And this is stuff that like we think about on a daily basis, and so like yeah, like I think we've taken a very a balanced approach, where we say that, at the core of it, this is, hiring is a human problem, right?
yes.
And humans are nuanced. Every person is different. What I think, Gen Z's want is for like the industry to recognize the skills that come to them, right? Hire them for like, what comes to them naturally, right? Then they are going to like, outshine, outperform, all of those things.
Yeah.
They need a mechanism through which, like, the industry can recognize that spark in their eyes.
Mm,
And less stereotyping, less judgment. I know so
mm.
many companies, they've like said that we'll never hire Gen Z's again. I'm like, how is that even going to like work out for you?
How is
Let's talk
that
10 years and
possible?
figure out. Yeah.
Yeah,
uh, you know
yeah,
so yeah, like, I mean, a
yeah,
company is ultimately a group of people coming together towards a common mission, and if there's no representation from young people, fine. I mean, if you're building like some, I don't know, like some product which is catered towards like, older decision
different
makers,
generation.
fine, it
Yeah,
may survive for some time. But
right.
I don't think, like, things work unless, like, the messaging is for the entire market.
Yeah,
And
and they are
those,
heavy consumers. They have money. They have
yeah,
purchasing power.
yeah,
So why are we like?
yeah,
That's not even a question. They're not children with no money. They're
yeah,
actually consumers,
yeah,
customers, clients. So
exactly.
we have to take their choices and what they want in the picture as well. Yeah, yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So, well, this was a very interesting conversation,
Hmm.
Kanishk. I really enjoyed it. And I'm hoping that a lot of people here also got value out of our discussion. I think we went very candid, like how you and I kind of vibe all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I mean, for people who are watching, do connect with Kanish. She's doing some really fantastic work with Profesh, and they create some really cool reels on Instagram. So do follow them there as well. Some really cool content that he's entering his Gen Z era. Kanish, you're killing it. So I'm loving all the content coming, and you and I will get in touch. Whatever, we'll do our scene once you're back to India again. And
Yeah.
for all the people, keep watching the space. This video will be up on LinkedIn and will be up on YouTube if you want to like share, rewatch, all that good stuff. But yeah, thanks a lot for spending your time with me on this really early morning of yours.
No, thanks for having me, Sonali, and always love the energy that you bring to the table, right? And the fact that you are driving so many of these conversations is just amazing to see. And yeah, I just look forward to more and more such stimulating chats,
Yeah,
and where we are talking and discussing the world, and what's going on in the world, and what direction it's taking, right? So
that's
thanks for
right.
having me here.
Absolutely. Thanks a
More
lot.
power to you. Yeah.
And you have a really good day. And for people
You too.
watching us, you all have a great day as well. Bye.
See you guys.